Leafs can't seem to beat bad teams, right? That's the story? Right. All right. Okay. Well, first of all, that's not true. We've beaten all the bad teams and some of them multiple times. Okay. So we do beat bad teams quite often, more than we don't, I'm pretty sure. Maybe not in seasons past, I'll give you that. Maybe a couple years ago, maybe even sometimes last year. But you got to remember two things about the Leafs, okay? And these are two things I cannot stand about how the Leafs play right now, okay? And haven't for the last few years. Because straight up, there's a few things, like these two things bother me the most. They don't always do them, but when they happen, it's hard for me to watch, okay? The number one, well, they're tied, but it's just 1 and 2, okay? 1 and 2 is they chase the game, okay? So they come out, and if they get scored on early, right, it is so much harder for these guys to come back. Even if they take a lead, it doesn't matter. For some reason, if they get scored on first, these guys really struggle with mentally getting around that, okay? And if they find themselves down at all, you know what I mean? Then if they find themselves down at all throughout the game, they immediately start sacrificing defense, right? There's only been a couple times in the last little bit that they haven't done that, and they actually come back and won, right? When they don't sacrifice defense, when they play strong, play the way they always play. Like, what was that? One of the Calgary games? Something like that, that last one. Didn't that go down the same way? Where it was like, it looked like we were going to lose again. And then all of a sudden, boom, they stuck to what they do well. And then it paid off. You know what I mean? That's what they got to do. That's what they got to do, man. They got to overcome that mental demon for sure of chasing the game, because that's when you start seeing the bad turnovers and everything else like that. Okay, that's when you start seeing all that nonsense, right? And the other thing that I just can't stand to see them do is not respect their opponent. And what I mean by that is when they run into a hot goalie like they did tonight, right? The team that they're playing against feeds off that. They're like, oh man. Right, Demko standing on his head again. Here we go. And they feel pumped by that, okay? And what the Leafs don't do, and haven't for years, is change their strategy on the fly. Now, they might change it from game to game with some coaching and figuring out what's going on. But at least from what I see, I very rarely see the Leafs change their strategy mid-game when it ain't working, okay? At some point, you have to respect the fact that you can't force somebody to play your style. Right? At some point, you know what I mean? Like as a team, they always say, "Oh, we're just going to show up and play our game, right? Make them play to our way and stuff." Well, you know what? That works for Vancouver. They know exactly how we're playing, and they're doing all the right things to shut us down. You realize the dude still faced like almost 40 shots or 40 shots plus or something like that, right? Demko, right? You realize that they still got that many shots, right? But why? Why were they getting them? Well, because they were doing the same things that usually work. Trying to pick the corners, right? Trying to catch the goalies, snoozing a little bit and try and snipe one by, or do an in-close tight deke or something. I don't know. You know what I mean? But what they don't do is start playing a very simplified game. They don't do it. They're so used to high-flying offense that when their offense is not working as well for them, okay? I mean, Tavares scored, but he scored that same old way for the Leafs. Now, it's not usually him doing it, but streaking down, getting a bit of speed, picking a spot. I mean, the Leafs have scored probably more goals shooting this year than any other style, right? No dekes so much, right? Not as much. Not as many in close to the net goals. It's usually from like the hash marks or further out, isn't it? Even on the one-timers and all that stuff. So, I mean, it bothers me. It bothers me when I see a hot goalie, especially. That's the one that the Leafs really do not respect, is a hot goalie. They just feel like they could just keep throwing shots. Oh, we're going to get one eventually. And yeah, shots do matter, but you got to change up how you do them. And if it's that same superstar style, some goalies are built for that. And this guy, Rittich, is another one. Rittich, whatever you want to say. There's two guys we face now this season that clearly have a knack for facing high quality shots. So you want to catch them, out of position. You need to force them out of position. So that's the two things that bother me. Now, if you think about it, when the Leafs play quote-unquote crappy teams, sorry Mr. Huxley, but that's true for your season so far, right? When you're playing teams that you're expected to win over, okay, often what happens is right off the bat you're not really respecting them, right? And then they might get a bit of momentum and they might score first. Now we're in the double position, right? Now if they score first and you don't respect them, you've already lost, because now you feel like, oh, we suck. We suck. I need to do more to win. I need to do more. We suck, right? How many of you guys here said Leafs suck tonight already? I'm not going to name names, but you know who you guys are, all right? Being like, oh, this sucks. Leafs suck. They're not a cup contender until they win a playoff round. Somebody said that to me. I don't want to name names. You know what I mean? Which, if you're going to wait that long to call somebody a cup contender, you might as well just say, like, man, I only bet on the lotto numbers when I know 5 out of the 6 of them already. Well, yeah, wouldn't you? Right? So it's a lot harder to see a winner if this early in the season. So if you're going to wait that late to decide, I mean, you're not really deciding at that point. You're waiting till it's proven before you say it, right? The fun is trying to guess now. And I straight up think that they still are a contender. I don't care, man. These bottom teams, in the end, don't matter for now. They don't. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter how you get to the playoffs as long as you get there. So I don't care if the Leafs choke away every point that they have in terms of a lead on the rest of the division. If they still finish in the top chunk and they make the playoffs, I don't care. Because there's only one win that matters the most. And that's this one where you're hoisting the cup at the end. That's the only one that matters. Okay? So yeah, when they're playing the weak teams, often they find themselves in one or two of those traps, either not respecting their opponents, right? Or what's the other one I said? I said something. The other one, it's one of those two, drives me nuts. Okay? Gotta respect your opponents. And you gotta stop chasing the game. You gotta stop chasing the game. Okay, just because you give up a goal or two doesn't mean you all of a sudden have to go for 5 goals. It doesn't mean you have to have 4 guys creeping up at the hash marks of their net and leaving a guy having to deal with a 2-on-1 going the other way. It doesn't mean you have to get clever with your little drop passes and cause a 3-on-1 going the other way. Now, before I wrap up my thoughts, I actually do want to combine here for a second. So hopefully you guys are awake and you're with me on this, okay? Because I see you guys getting all excited here, right? So let's break down quickly, okay, the different goals. Which goal do you want to talk about first? The first, the second, the third? What do you want? That fourth one's pretty self-explanatory, I think. Beauty wrist shot. I mean, it comes from a turnover at the neutral zone because of a bad drop pass. Now you're in on a 3-on-1 and the guy bloody well sniped it. All right. Okay, AKZ, the third one. Remind me, which one was the third one again? That is the one that was in the feet, right? In front of the net. Okay. Quick, I want to see a quick survey in the chat. If you had, like, from a coaching standpoint, if you have to blame somebody for that third goal, who do you blame? Who are you most mad at? Who do you think needs to be taught a lesson the most out of that third goal? Okay, Thievis is saying it too, third goal. Okay, so right there, I'm putting it to you guys in the chat. I'm curious to know who's at fault the most for that third goal, right? I don't want to describe it too much for those who don't remember which one we were talking about. Okay, Huxley's saying you would blame no one. It's an unlucky bounce, like a lucky bounce for yeah. Thievis is saying Willie. Okay, Nylander for catching the penalty. Okay. How many? Okay, you guys are talking to each other on that one. All right, well, I guess you can kind of blame someone for getting a penalty, but that was a fluky goal, man. And whatever, he was trying to put it off the glass. How many guys put it off the glass, man? You're supposed to do that. And that over the glass rule, you've heard other guys complain about it too, hockey fans and stuff like that. Okay, you've heard other people complain about it. It rolled off his stick funny. He's trying to do the right thing, which is you put it off the glass to go around your opponent. Chip it off the boards and off you go. If you put it too low, a guy can use his body and block it. They're all taught to put it off the glass. You're taught to put it off the glass in house league growing up. Okay, that was the number one spot I was supposed to put it as a defenseman in my own zone. He's a winger doing the same thing up the boards on a rush. Okay, literally, if he waits like 3 more strides before he does it, if he was 3 more strides ahead, he's over the red line, and that's not even a penalty if it goes over. You know what I mean? He's about 3 strides away from it not even being a penalty, right? He could have just skated to half and dumped it. No, that's what he was trying to do. He tried to pull up short there because he was blocked, right? That's why he makes that play. But I'm actually talking about the play in front of the net. And the play in front of the net when it all went down. Who would you put to blame there? Because I saw some people saying in the Discord there, you know what I mean? I saw some blame going around. And I want to know, because nobody named the person who's actually at fault the most. So I want to know, who do you think is at fault for that third goal in the middle of the goal? Forget the actual fact that it's a power play goal and forget the penalty for a second, okay? And yes, Snack, I agree, man. Those delayed game penalties can be very brutal. Okay, Cooks is saying everyone is at fault. No, I mean, as a coach, I'm not trying to be metaphoric here. All right, I'm not trying to be like sneaky here. I'm talking about. I'm literally thinking of one player in my head who, if you had to trace it back, it's more his fault than anybody else. It's a simple coaching thing. It's not to say that this guy's a bad player. I don't want to see him get traded or nothing like that. I'm not saying any of that. But I'm not trying to be clever here. Okay. In that play, the person to make the biggest mistake causing that goal isn't Riley. Okay, it isn't Riley because he got put into his feet. And if that's ever happened to you, man, you guys don't understand on skates if you've never played, man. It gets into your feet. There's space under your feet, right? Because the blade is only this thick, but your foot actually hovers over top, you know, the parts that stick out past the blade. So a puck can be in your feet and you can't even see most of it sometimes, depending on where it is. You know what I mean? You only see about like maybe that much and it blends in your eye. You don't know what's going on. Okay? So it's not Riley's fault. That crap happens to you. It's not Freddie's fault. Because he went to save the first shot that ended up in Riley's feet, and when it got stopped, he was already sprawled out. Okay? He can't move anymore until he gets back up, but it's too late because before you know it, the Vancouver guy's got it and puts it in. That Vancouver guy that streaked in, who's supposed to be covering him? It ain't Riley, right? It ain't Riley because at the moment he's dealing with the puck in his feet. Okay? Thornton is 2 steps behind him, but he's not 2 steps because the guy was super fast and beat him. Thornton is 2 steps behind him because he didn't think he was a threat. Okay? If you look, Thornton is back there. He's with him, and then coasts. And the guy is about 2 steps ahead of him, and they're both just kind of looking at the puck. No. Thornton has to have the man rushing in if he's already that close. It's different if he's a mile back. You know what I mean? Even if that is his man, it's not as bad a mistake as someone else could have come in and got there, right? But that one, he could have hooked him. He could have hooked him if he had to, but he didn't even think. He wasn't looking at the guy. He gave up on that. He was looking at the puck, and when you puck watch as a defender, forward, you know what I mean, defenseman, whatever, if you're defending and you watch the puck more than you know what's going on, you're toast. You're dead. And that's what happened, man. Thornton isn't on the third. What? That was the third goal, right? What are you saying on the power play? What are you talking about the power play? I'm not talking about the power play. What are you guys talking about? I'm getting confused with the chat. Let me rant and then I'll continue on, okay? I'm talking about that third goal, right? Wasn't that the one in the feet? Either one. I'm talking about the one in Riley's feet, okay? That's not the one. It's not Riley's fault. That's Joe Thornton's fault. And I'm sure he knows it, man. And you know what I mean? It's one of those things. He'll fix it for next time. So I'm not too worried. If I said power play, okay, when I say power play, penalty kill, it doesn't matter to me. I consider them the same thing. It's whatever comes to my mouth first, straight up, okay? If you're letting in a goal, right, and we're talking about a situation where somebody was on a power play, right, that's what I'm talking about. So if it's Vancouver's power play, it's our penalty kill. If it's our power play, it's their penalty kill, right? So when I say score a power play goal, man, I don't know what you want me to do, right? But that's how I talk. So that's a little lesson on my vernacular there. All right. Any other goals? What about that second goal? Who wants to talk about the second goal? I can tell you whose fault that one is too, and it ain't Freddie's fault. No, it's not Freddie's fault. I'm pretty sure you guys all know the second one, right? Blast from the point, pretty much. Right? Whose fault is it? I want to know. Because guys, from a coaching standpoint, I'm telling you, like, I'm not trying to be rude or disrespectful to any of these guys, but from every goal, there's always one person whose fault it is more than anybody else's, right? And by calling that out, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're blaming them for being a bad player. It just means that in that particular moment, they're the one that made a mistake, if there is one. I mean, sometimes there are lucky bounces and stuff like that, right? AKZ, you're saying lucky, right? That one was lucky. The second goal, the tip in, right? The tip in. Was it Bozer or whatever his name is? Right? Was it him? Oh, you're saying Thornton pulled up on that play there, Thebus. Yeah, that's what I was talking about, man. Exactly. Yeah, so it was Besser. Brock Besser is how you say his name? He tipped it in front. He tipped it. He might have tipped it. I can't tell from the angle, but from what I saw, it wasn't. I didn't think he tipped it. I thought it was Bogosian. But even still, it's Bogosian's fault, whether he tipped it or not. All right, because Besser's right there. He's standing right beside him. You got to tie up that stick, and at the same time, you got to be mindful of a shot, man. If Besser actually tipped it, right? Which I'm pretty sure he did, right? I'm pretty sure he did, Huxley. If Besser... Oh, Besser took the shot. Horvat tipped it. Yeah, they gave him the goal on the TV. All right, perfect. So now we're breaking this down. Excellent. Okay, one by one here, okay? So let's say Horvat tipped it, okay? It's still Bogosian's fault because that means he tipped it through him and Bogosian. There should be no space between them, right? Or, you know what I mean? He needs to get in there, tie up that stick so that nothing can be tipped. And he needs to decide whether he's either going to push Horvat out of the way of that shot completely. And if he can't do that, then he needs to get himself in the way to block it. Neither of those things happened, right? Horvat was still able to tip it. And even if he didn't, that shot was still getting past them, right? So that's another one that's actually Bogosian's fault and not like Freddie Anderson's fault or something like that. And it's also not just, you can't just chalk it up to a weird bounce. Yes, not everyone's going to get it tipped, but that's not weird. That was an intentional attempt to tip it, right? That's a play. You set that up, right? You pass it back to a defenseman as a forward. You find a line that's between him and the net, but like just off to the side a little bit, and you try and get that stick in the way anywhere you can. That's a set play. That's a set play. So that's not a weird bounce. That's not the hockey gods looking down on us. That's not us figuring out why we can't beat a bad team or whatever. Okay? That's just how it is. Okay? Those are small mistakes for those two goals that if they pick up the pace on those and don't let those go by, it's a 2-2 game. We're going into overtime figuring out what's going on. That fourth one, that's a snipe. That's one that's like, I just feel bad that Freddie didn't get it. But at the same time, I mean, you try and stop that shot. That was a beauty shot. But again, guys, if the Leafs had changed up their game plan and had been in a lead by that point, you think Vancouver's scoring that snipe shot like that? That comes from when you're a team that's struggling, the way the Canucks have been, the way the Senators have been, and now the Flames and stuff like that. Like when you're a struggling team and you're playing a good 2 periods, you feel like $1 million because you haven't played 2 good periods in a little while. Okay, now imagine 3 good periods from the last game and 2 good periods in this game. Vancouver's flying high right now. They feel like $1 million, okay, per game, because obviously that's not a very big contract for these guys. But you know what I mean? Like that's exactly how it is, okay? So I don't know, man. I don't know. I just know that they better figure it out. You know what I mean? You don't want to let this get away from you, right? There's nothing to feel bad about per se right now. You're still on top. You're still rolling with things. You're still dominating the standings. And until that starts to become threatened, there's no real reason to panic over anything. They could lose 5 in a row if they have to. Like, you know what I mean? Again, it doesn't matter so much, right? As long as they keep staying on top. So again, guys, I mean, make of it what you will, but I just know that the Leafs have those 2 things, right? They got to be not underestimating their opponents, right? In how they play, meaning change it up on the fly if you have to. Recognize that your pattern doesn't work against them. They're too strong defensively. Figure out a new way, right? And stop chasing the game, or figure out a way to, like, when I say stop chasing the game, I just mean stop acting like you have to score immediately after getting scored on. You do not. I don't care if you're down 2-0 or something like that. You know what I mean? If you're down by a couple of goals, like, and you got plenty of time, do not panic. Stop acting like you have to score them back immediately, because then you're sacrificing defense, and then you find yourself down 4-2 in no time. You know what I mean? So those are the 2 things I hope they change. Overall, I'm still very impressed with how they played for the most part. Oh, just a lot of turnovers, though, eh? Just a lot of turnovers. So that's my summation, if you will, of what's going on. We kind of stumbled through some of that stuff there with all the names. Man, I gotta start taking notes, I guess. But man, I don't even know their names half the time. Like, I just watch the play. I'm not even really paying attention to who's who until it's all over. So now I want to see what you guys are saying. Okay, so let me know if there's anything I missed. Okay, guys? Holler at me. What do you got? I'm gonna start at the top. I swear this new camera really shows how bad my skin is. Ugh. Anyways, guys, make sure you subscribe, okay? This thing is growing bigger and bigger, and you won't want to miss the chaos that the true believer will find himself in. I'm the most unique NHL 21 channel on YouTube. I dare you to prove me otherwise. Bye!